All right, let's hope this works. Let's see. We good? Okay. I think that's working. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, that was weird. I just had to reset everything. Okay, anyway, let me go over what I was saying again. What I said all over again. So, a lot of people were wanting me to do more live Q&As, so that's what we're doing. Turn that down. So basically, this is Ask Me Anything. Ask me any question that you want. It can be anything about voiceover, anything about stand-up comedy, anything about writing, me personally, anything like that. I am also going to have some people on here live via Skype, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, this is basically just a giant Q&A, live Q&A. There are a couple things that I wanted to go over before we got started. There was some things that people did want to know about, and that was doing video camera stuff, doing better webcam for video. So that is going to be something that I will be talking about in a future video for sure. There was also, I think, more writing questions, but more like writing character dialogue for voiceover demos, for character reel demos. So that is something that I am going to be covering. So those have all been covered. But as far as anything else, ask away. Now, the person that I was going to... That's weird. I think one of these is like really, really delayed. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right, so... yeah, I'm just reading through these. Yeah, these are all no sound, no sound, no sound. I'm going to figure out what that was. I think it was just default settings. That's basically it. Let me see. There was something that I did want to talk to you guys about before we really got started. Let me pull up. Where is it? Okay. Oh, good. Good. Good thing that you were able to hear the music. Okay. So that's good. So hopefully next Q&A we will not have this problem. Okay, I think there was a question before where someone was asking, how did I get into voiceover? How did I get into doing what I do right now? There's a couple answers to that. One of them is, so back in, I want to say like 8 years ago, maybe not that long, but a good while ago. No, probably more like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was, back when there was like the flip phones, like the Nokia flip phone or the Razor, where you had to like text or call a number or something like that to download a special ringtone. Special ringtones weren't common. So you actually had to do something, very difficult to actually get a special ringtone. So there's lots of websites that had that kind of service where you'd go there and you would text that number and then you'd text the code to get the ringtone, if I remember correctly. So I actually worked on that website and actually did impressions. So it'd be like celebrity impressions, doing ringtones or doing alarms for your phone or doing reminders and stuff like that. And that's actually how I got started into doing voiceover. It was terrible. It was awful. The website doesn't exist anymore, thank goodness, because I would hate to listen to it again. And so that's how I got started. So I started out doing celebrity impressions. So it'd be like Robert De Niro or Christopher Walken or someone, just, saying, you got a phone call, answer it. So that was basically it. That's how I got started in doing voiceover. But then later on, when I lived in my own apartment and I needed some more cash, there was a friend of mine who lives in LA. His name is Philip Wilburn. He encouraged me to find websites like voices.com, Voice123, and I had never heard of these. And I never really knew how to really get into voiceover. So I went to the website, filled out the profile, and I started, doing auditions. And one of the first ones that I saw was to do a Daffy Duck. I think it was College Humor was looking for a Daffy Duck impression, a real good Daffy Duck impression. I'd never done a Daffy Duck before. So I was like, but I'm pretty sure I could do this. So I went and I listened to Mel Blanc's version of Daffy Duck, and then the guy who did it like after him, I can't remember what his name is. I need to memorize his name because the dude was awesome. He did a lot of great voices, part of my childhood. But I listened to his version, I listened to Mel Blanc's version, and I tried to do something like right in the middle, something that would be iconic to both. And I did that, and I sent it in. And at this point, all I had was a USB mic, no real sound booth anywhere, and just like a foam cover over the mic. And it was just set up out in the middle of my bedroom. There was no wall treatment, so you could hear the echo. But it was just an audition. So they heard it, and they immediately contacted me that day and said, you know, we would love you to do the Daffy Duck. Can you do something, you know, about the treatment? And I was like, absolutely, sure, totally. And at that point, I was like, I need to look up what treatment is. I don't know anything about that. So I actually went online and looked up all kinds of stuff. And I think I saw videos from Bill DeWeese, and I saw videos from various other people. And I set up this like kind of tent booth thing with like multiple comforters, like kind of in a corner. I set that up, and I just barely had a good sound. It was better than what I had before, but it was just barely. And I kept listening to it, and I was like, God, that doesn't sound right. And so over the years, I slowly developed a better system. But I never really got anywhere reasonable until I moved to Austin, Texas, here. Until I moved to Austin, Texas, and I was needing more money. The job that I had wasn't paying enough for the higher cost of living. So I went back online and started doing voices again, and I Google searched voiceover websites, and I applied and put my profile on every single one of these websites. And the one that I started getting more and more was Fiverr, and that was probably about 6-7 years ago. So that's basically how I got started in doing voiceover, and that gets us up to here. So someone had a question. Anyone inspired you to do voiceover? Tons of people inspired me. Let's see. James Arnold Taylor is an amazing voice actor. He's an amazing talent. I've gotten to have kind of a correspondence with him. You know, he offered to, he's like, hey, anytime you want to, chat, just let me know. But I had to go through like his website or something like that to like actually get to contact him, like get his personal email. And so I had to like go through his agent, and they never contacted me back. So I was like, all right, it's fine. I mean, he's a busy man. So I don't want to bother him. But other people would be Philip Wilburn, my friend from LA. He has done all kinds of voiceover. He does, I think there's like Android 15 or something like that. No. It's like, it's one of the androids from, it's like the white, round, Buddha-looking android from Dragon Ball Z. He did that one for like a long time. I think he still does. He's always been a great inspiration. I mean, he's not, like the most well-known and most successful voice actor, but I mean, he helped me out a lot, and his kind of generosity and helping and free advice was a huge inspiration for me doing what I do now on this channel. As far as other people, I would say Mel Blanc is an inspiration, but he's kind of like a given just because he was such a pioneer to voiceover and character work in general. I spend a lot of time doing retakes. I actually have a couple in the booth, behind the scenes kind of videos, and I cut out some of the takes, but there's a lot of bad takes still in there. I think on my Patreon, which I will be getting rid of, the Patreon is not, it was just an idea to put extra content on, and then people, if they wanted like long form, like there's hours and hours of unseen content on there that I'll probably just move over here and just get rid of the Patreon. But yeah, there's whole takes of me taking like forever to just get one line. It's probably part of that is probably the dyslexia. The dyslexia is a big part of my struggle, which is, I mean, I read for a living. I read lines for a living, so, dyslexia is kind of a big deal. But, yeah, there's always, I don't think there's one line that I've ever done just one take and it's been perfect. It doesn't matter how short or simple it is. I think the first 2 takes that I do, even if I read it correctly, the first 2 takes that I do are normally not the ones that I go with. It's normally the 3rd to 6th take is normally the ones that I like. I would say for what would be maybe like a minute of finished audio, which is normally between 150 to 200 words. For me, it would be probably about 10 minutes of recording. Yeah, probably about 10 minutes of recording, and then 2-3 minutes of editing. So, that's a lot that I'm cutting out. So, there's that. What else? I think there was someone asking if I found the voiceover industry difficult in Texas, because most people live in, like, New York or LA. I don't really think there's that much of a difference, because I think a lot of people... Good evening! I think a lot of people do voiceover digitally and online now, which is what I do. So it doesn't really have that much of an effect on me. Most of my clients are from overseas, and so being that they're overseas, it really doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter if I'm East Coast, West Coast, Bible Belt. It really doesn't matter. They find me digitally. They like my range, how many different characters I can do in 60 seconds that all sound completely different, and they hire me to do multiple characters because they want like a one-stop shop, and that's most of my clients. So I don't find it difficult to live in Texas as opposed to LA or New York. Would I ever live in those states or cities? Probably not. I don't think that it's necessary for what I do. Maybe one of these days I might move to more like the Burbank area. I've been to California. I've been to Burbank. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So maybe there. Also, I have a lot of friends there. Do I feel that the job cuts you off from people since so much is done? Not quite sure what this question means. Do I feel that the job cuts you off from people? Okay. As opposed to like saying that I'm like alone and isolated in my booth at home and not getting out much. Is that kind of the question? I'm going to assume that's the question. I'm going to answer it that way. If it's not, then feel free to correct me. Yes, I don't see a lot of people face to face. There are a few clients that I actually get to like interact with via Skype and talk to them live and actually get to see their face. Also, I like showing the clients who I am. I like showing the clients my face when, as often as possible. Sometimes it's a really short project, really short gig, and I know they're never going to come back, so I try to show them who I am. That's why I'm a real, big advocate for headshots in voiceover. I know there's some voice actors that say that headshots aren't necessary, but I like showing the client who I am. I want them to know who they're working with. But yeah, I don't get out much. I'm gaining weight rapidly, which I'm exercising, but I think for like a solid week, I really wasn't able to exercise too much because I had like gigs constantly. But I am going to try to get out more and do more outside of the booth stuff. But yeah, so yeah. So much time working at home. Okay, yeah. That's exactly it. I can do tons of different accents. I think it's very important for voice actors to be able to do a large variety of accents. most of your character work is going to be accent. There's basically 5 elements to a character voice. And I think I've brought this up a couple times. There is pitch, there is accent, there is rhythm, there is noise, and there is, what was the other one? It might just be 4. Maybe I'm crazy. It might just be 4. But accent is one of them. So, like if I was doing, I did one not too long ago where it was like a leprechaun. They wanted a leprechaun for some kind of gambling casino game, and so they wanted the Irish accent. They wanted to be very whimsical, very high pitched, and very high energy because the character was like very tiny. So they wanted a very high pitch, very high energy, and they wanted the Irish accent. So the first time I did it, I had a very, very strong Irish accent. And they said kind of tone it down a little bit because it's a little hard to understand. So I toned it down, kept the pitch, kept the rhythm, said that to them. They liked it. So I did do that. There's a project that came in where they wanted three characters. One that has kind of an Italian, a very authentic Italian accent, and then 2 that sound like just gruff New Yorkers, which New York accent is vague. It's really, really vague. I mean, so is Irish and Italian accent. I mean, it's more than just one layer group of people. But they wanted kind of this, it sound New York, so you can do like kind of a Bronx or a Brooklyn or, a Jersey accent. They are slightly different. You'd probably have to listen to a lot of people from that area and talk to a lot of people from that area to really know the difference. It's just practice. As far as the number of accents that I can do, it's mostly, I would say it's mostly just white accents, like white people from different parts of the world. I don't do a lot of, sometimes people come to me that want like a Jamaican. I'm like, I don't do a Jamaican. Or they want an Indian. I don't do an Indian, or a Japanese. I don't do a Japanese. It's white people. I don't know. I think it's just a safer bet. What do you think about vocal booths? Want to buy one and change mine. Auto built. It costs $6,000. Ooh. In any currency, that's a lot. Okay. It depends on the vocal booth. If we're talking like professional vocal booths from like Whisper Room, I think, who make amazing vocal booths. If you can afford that and that's in your budget, then absolutely, by all means, go for it. If you were able to get a hold of the materials to build your own and it would end up costing you less and you knew what you were doing and had someone that could help you, I would say go that route. Because essentially, doing it yourself, you get to like customize it a little bit better. Like if you wanted something, like maybe you're really, really tall. There's some of those Whisper Rooms that are just not designed for tall people. For me, I would want to get one that's like really, really wide. I don't like enclosed spaces. I don't like, right now I can put both my arms out and, I can barely stretch them out. I'm touching both walls. I like lots of room because I like to get up. I like to dance. I like to move around a lot. And I like my voice to kind of breathe in the area, to kind of breathe in the room, breathe in the space. So, but getting a Whisper Room is, that kind of booth is something that I have personally thought about. It's something that I have personally debated on getting for myself when I move on, when I move forward, but I would need a bigger space for it. The good news is about those kinds of booths is that you wouldn't really have to treat the room that it's being put in. Basically, just make sure it's quiet and not rumbly, and you're pretty much good to go. You can actually put a relatively loud PC a little bit of ways from it, and as long as it's closed off, you should be fine. Now, the only real problem with those kind of booths, from what I've heard, is the air circulation and the AC. No matter how quiet they try to make it, you're always going to get some kind of noise. A lot of them try to use these really quiet PC fans, but you can still hear them rattling or rumbling or any kind of air blowing across the microphone. You're always going to get something. Most people that I know that have those kind of booths, they just leave them open for a good deal and only record for a short period when they get in. Me, I do have a curtain behind me to kind of block everything off, but sometimes I just leave that open. I don't always need that closed because my voice still, for the most part, stays isolated in here. So if it's your first isolated area for voiceover, I would say no because it's expensive. If you're upgrading from something like this to an actual booth and you wanted a little bit more professional setup and you're making the voiceover money to pay for it, then yes. So that's that. I think we're probably good to call up my friend, do a live Q&A with him. So probably what I'll do is I'll put you guys on a quick pause. And if y'all want to ask more questions, totally fine. I'll get back to those in a second. So give me a second to ring him up, and we'll keep this. We'll get right back to it. Testing. Okay. That's weird. There's like a delay on it. Okay. I don't know what that's about. I'm going to have to bring in some professional. I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay. So, let me try that again. So, the question was that they started up a YouTube channel and a while back, and they were asking, did the views for me come in slowly, or was there a sudden jump? They're actually, it's been slow and steady for the majority, but there have been periods with sudden jumps in my YouTube channel. There has been sudden jumps. And there are 2 periods when I was the most active. Basically, now has been the most views and the most activity and the most subscriptions. But then probably around the time when I did solid just impression videos was the first real spike. It was around the time that I also got noticed and got the opportunity to be on The Tonight Show. So when there was a huge spike in my impression videos, a lot of people were seeing it. They saw it. They called me. They flew me. I was on The Tonight Show. But then there was a period when I had to focus on work. I had to focus on money. And so I wasn't able to do YouTube. So there's a huge dip. So it really has to do with activity. How active are you on YouTube? Also, how engaging are you? Which is another reason I'm doing this. Not just for more views, but, I want to know what you guys want to talk about. I want to know what you guys want to know from me. Because, that's the whole point of a lot of these kinds of videos. These talking head videos is in hopes of being helpful in some way. So that's the goal for that. Okay, so Tim, which interface do you use on the road? It depends on which what road trip I'm on and how long I'm going to be gone. So I have a small iRig Pro. Let me go grab it just real quick. So when I go on trips, I always bring my backpack. I don't know if y'all can see this, but there is a whole bunch of things that I bring in these little pouches. I obviously have a portable set of earphones, which is, oh, there's a watch, which is basically the same as these. Well, not the same as these. These ones are, oh crap, don't lose that. These are the AT, which ones are you? The AT M30X. So these are the 50X and these are the 30X. The real difference in the two is the 50Xs, I think, are heavier and bigger, and they swivel. But ultimately, I think they have the same inner ear speaker pieces. So they're basically the same on that front. Don't lose that. Get back here. Those little gold things you lose so quickly. All right, let's see what I got in here. Okay, here we are. Here's the thing. That is one of my on-the-road devices. This is just the iRig Pro. They have another version of this. I don't know what the difference is. I haven't used it. So I had an iRig Pre at first, but then which the iRig Pre just has fixed like a headphone jack style port that goes into your phone, and of course the new iPhone doesn't have that, so I had to get another one. So this one has you can change out the cable, and so now I have this one, which has a lightning port, which I can just plug up to my phone or my iPad. It also has one that's like a USB, so you could use it with your laptop or your computer, but I pretty much the only cable I bring is this one, the lightning port one, just because I want to, Save room, save space. It needs 9-volt batteries, which is really the only handicap or the really only downside to it, is it needs 9-volt batteries. But if you have the extra money, I suggest buying a couple rechargeable 9 volts and a portable 9-volt battery charger thing that you can bring with you, so you can always have one charged or charging and then use the other one in the device. It has it's got a good amount of life and time before it needs to be recharged or it needs to have the battery changed. I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I've actually worn it out to the point that I could hear it like slowly dying and hissing. So I don't really know the full battery life, but it's more than enough for a full session. Then I have this little pouch. I love these little pouches. These are awesome. So in this pouch, I have 2 microphones. Now, if you guys seen my on-the-road voiceover setup, you've probably seen these before. But the 2 microphones that I always travel with, one of them is the Audio-Technica 87.5R, tiny shotgun mic. Beautiful, beautiful shotgun mic. It's one of my favorites. One of my absolute favorites. I have 2 of these now. One that I just always have in there, and then this one that I always travel with. And then the other microphone that I travel with is the it's the MXL 991 small diaphragm condenser. Now, why do I travel with 2? Why do I carry 2? So this one is obviously a shotgun mic, and it's more directional. This one has a cardioid pickup pattern, but you got to get a lot closer to it because it's, it's a small diaphragm. But this one sounds a lot brighter, and sometimes a little sibilant, and this one sounds a lot bassier and a lot more bassy, like just really picks up the low tones. So it depends on the space that I'm in, the recording space. So if I'm in a closet, a very small closet that has a boxy sound, that has that kind of very hollow, shallow, boxy sound, I like to use this because of its brightness. It cuts through a lot of the tunnel tube sound of a smaller space. However, if I am in, just in the room and I can't, be in the closet space, and I'm just in the open room, because it's a large open space, it's going to be brighter. It's going to have that sharp reverberance. So I use this and get it closer to focus on my low tones and kind of ignore the high frequency or high-pitched echoes in the room, in the space. So that's why I travel with both of them. Also, it doesn't take up that much space. I put that one in first. And then, of course, I just travel with I think kind of a short 3-foot XLR cable, which I think I have up there right now. And no, I have 2 of them. There's one in here. It's just one of these, really short, because you're not going to need that much space. I mean, your phone. The only reason that you need a longer XLR cable is so you can get away from your interface or get your microphone away from the computer. But when it's a small interface that plugs into my phone's not going to make a lot of noise, and so I don't need to get that far away. So I just kept travel with one of those. And then the last thing that I travel with, now sometimes this changes, but this I have, it is a tiny shock mount, like so, attached to what is essentially a phone clamp, phone clip kind of thing. And this thing has been incredibly versatile. I will often use this in my car if I can't set up anywhere else, or someone needs a demo, or an audition done really, really fast. I can actually attach this to the steering wheel, put in one of the microphones, normally cool, he's ready. Put in one of the, probably the MXL 991. I'll put that in there because, the car's has a kind of bassiness, but that's basically all I travel with. Now, there have been times when a client has wanted more than just a little bit of recording and they actually want me to edit there. What I will do is I will bring a small interface, which is my Behringer Euphoria UM22, I think it is. I'll travel with that thing, and then I'll bring a very small laptop and plug all that in. And then I'll, of course, bring the longer cable. But for the most part, the microphone stays the same. I do also have a very super collapsible mic stand that's like about this big, but then it extends like 4 segments, as well as a gooseneck that extends like 2 times or whatever. Basically do the same thing. So sometimes I'll travel with that, but it really depends on how much I'm doing. Normally, I just travel with this. This is the kind of stuff I'd travel with if I'm not sure if I'm recording anything. I mean, I could do all kinds of work with this. I have done all kinds of work, but if someone's wanting more than just audition or a small sample, or they're wanting more editing, I will travel with more of a setup. Let's put this away before I step on it. As far as the Audio-Technica headphones, I really like these because I don't feel like they color the sound all that much. I feel like definitely Dre's Beats definitely do. So if you have those, don't wear those, for God's sakes. But I also feel like I can't think of the name of them. But there's some headphones that kind of add bass to it or kind of color the sound. These ones are just plain. Put all this away. Alrighty. All right, let's bring up... Oop. Oh, that's weird. What just happened? All right, well, that's freaking out for a second. All right, give me a second. I'm going to pause this, and then I'm going to go call up my friend, and we'll be right back.
Are you able to read what your all right. I'm sure they are. Webs can be a cruel, cruel place.
Cruel mistress.
I'm sure they are. Webs can be a cruel, cruel place.
Cruel mistress.
I'm sure they are. Morden, they do. Uh, it is cut off from Mordekainen. It's from fantasy. If anybody's familiar with the Greyhawk campaign setting, oh no, no. This is a pen name that I've been using for like the last 2 or 3 years. No, I yeah no no. It's because of the internet. I don't really use a whole lot of real stuff on the internet. Now I might tell you if it was just us two, but this is just out. No, that's all right. Sure, that's fine. I do. Yes, very much so. As a matter of fact, after we talked, I talked to uh, I don't know if you're familiar with this channel. It's Thor Skywalker, and anyway, I he selected me to do Snoke and Luke Skywalker for his uh, upcoming videos. No, not yet. Okay, well, these are in no particular order, but like so far, the information you did give me on the microphones and the little device I needed to hook up to it, like everything has been spot on. Like so far, when I've talked to the information you did, the people I'm doing voices for, they've told me they're like, you sound so much better. They're like, what are you doing different? I'm like, oh, I got a microphone and I padded this closet in my house, and yeah, so um, I have a good place to record, and I have a decent microphone now. With the I'm using the ones that you recommended, the MXL 990 and 991. So, interface, like what I'm recording with. Oh, it's the that Behringer UMC. Yeah. Yes, it's no, actually is really easy to use and set up, and it was affordable. So I mean that was nice, but no, I got right to work as soon as I got it. I hooked it up and started working with stuff. The only problem I had was I guess because I wasn't used to hearing something so nice. I was actually hearing things I hadn't heard before. So yeah, once I found out that, that was normal, everything was good. Not as much. I actually changed the way I talk. When I'm doing voiceovers. So, but, well, like when we were talking about Snoke, um, I noticed that, and, I mentioned this that I was reading a little bit too fast, and so I was kind of some of my words were getting melded together. I noticed that when I slowed down, the words came out more defined. And then with other things, with there were certain words that I was saying like they were a little too sharp, like a t or. or whatever. And so I'm like I'm more aware of that, and so it's just kind of, right. I am using I think it's the 990. Hmm. I just it was let's see, it's just this 2 inch thick um, foam, like with the ridges in it. I just yeah, all over the whole closet. It's pretty good size. Like it sounds really nice in there now. I actually went and put up. Let's see, it was on Voices, Fiverr, and then there was one other one that I put. Oh, Voice 123. That's what it was. So I put in some demos. Just the Star Wars ones right now. I'm actually currently working on um, other voices as well. So as soon as I'm done with those, I'll put those demos up. But I mean, beyond that, that's actually one of the questions uh, I had was, what more can you do, or how long is it before anyone possibly takes notice? No, I gotcha. That makes perfect sense. And when it comes, oh, go ahead. Okay. Got- Okay. Yeah. Right. Right. Ah, I see. Yeah, like a. I see. Hmm. Okay. That's actually really good to hear because I wasn't sure how either of those sites worked. I just figured I'd have to. Mhm. You're like 15 minutes in. What? Man, nobody said anything earlier, or they just
Everyone was just silent.
wow. You know, it's weird because I just had you pulled up a moment ago, and I
Yeah.
muted you, but I could hear you coming out
Yeah,
loud.
I could too.
You know, it's weird because I just had you pulled up a moment ago, and I
Yeah.
muted you, but
No, no, yeah, I can hear it. I just unmuted it for a second. I have no idea what's going on. I have no clue.
it's YouTube's fault.
See, this is why I don't trust OBS. This is why I don't normally use OBS. I'm gonna blame it on OBS. I'm gonna sue them. No. Sorry, what were we saying? It's Fiverr. It was something about Fiverr, right?
Oh, just how the different sites worked as far as whether work comes to you or you have to go out and get it.
I would say the majority of. Okay, so the majority of the work that you do is getting the work, is going out to get the work, and that's going to include things like. Things like cold calling and emailing, email lists,
Yeah.
which I am not good at. I have tried that. I could probably try that again now, but I was absolutely dreadful at that before, and it was just awkward. And I put a bad taste in clients' mouths, and I really didn't want to have that kind of experience. So I just basically stopped doing that, and I decided to focus on other avenues. Now, it's not to say that you can't. There are tons of people out there who are really, really good at cold calling. I would say find them, talk to them, call them. Earl Hall is definitely one of the people that knows how to cold call, who knows how to go and talk to clients and get clients. Now, it's not to say that he's going to get a client every single time. But if you email or cold call like 50 people and you get one of those clients, and they end up being a return client, then that's worth it, right?
Right.
So that's basically the idea. There's tons of ways of marketing. I mean, obviously, a Facebook page, a Twitter. I know Facebook is surprisingly still here. A Twitter. Some people use Instagram, so. I don't know how they do that. I think the Instagram is really just showing off your studio and occasionally posting video clips of you
Okay.
working.
Instagram
Right.
voiceover.
For voiceover, yeah.
Huh.
The Twitter, same thing. You'd be showing off some of your stuff and kind of talking about your day-to-day, and then basically just talking about voiceover. So if someone was to go into Twitter and search voiceover, they might find you. If someone was to search in Facebook, voiceover, they might find you. If someone was to search Instagram, they might find you. So basically, as many places as you can, present a professional profile. Now, it's not to say that you can't post it evenly. You can't be all the same. You can't post, something that'll work for one site. It's not going to work for all the other sites. So it kind of depends. I mean, I think on voices.com, really all you can do is like a profile, a really good description of yourself, and then demos.
Yeah.
So the real main thing there is the demo. So make sure you have really good demos. You know, your headshot can be mild and blah, who cares? But you got to have really, really good demos, which is actually the same for every single one of them. But for voices.com, it's mainly the demos.
Okay. All right. So do you want some of my other questions?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Okay. How many hours a day on average do you work?
I would say it's 8 or 9. It's 8 or 9 hours. It's a pretty standard day. So I drop off my roommate at his day job at like 2 o'clock. I get home probably about like somewhere between 2:15 and 2:30. And then before I even drop off, right when I get up in the morning, have you ever Sorry, I just read one of the comments. I haven't. So let's just answer that question. I'm not even going to read what the question was.
Man, I kind of want to see this.
What was I saying? So about 8 hours every day, I get up, and the first thing everyone who does voiceover should do is check their emails, check their messages, check all that kind of stuff. Check all of those things and try to answer as quickly as possible. A lot of the times a client is messaging multiple people, especially on Fiverr. They're messaging multiple voice actors or multiple service providers, and they're trying to they're trying to find somebody. They're not sure what they're looking for, and so they're trying to find the right person for the job. So they're going to message multiple. So you need to answer quickly. So that's always the first thing that I do. And sometimes I do that before I get back to the house, and sometimes I do that, you know, when I'm here. But that's like the first thing you do. And you got to check Facebook. Sometimes you check YouTube. Sometimes it's all my Gmail, the Fiverr messages, and then after that, then I look at what do I need to do today. And a lot of times I'll know what I need to do the previous day, because I'll be like, all right, I did all these projects. These are the ones that are left. So then I go and I try to get through the projects as fast as possible. Sometimes if it's like a larger project, I'll save that for another day and do all the little projects in one day. Mm-hmm. So, little projects will get done really, really quickly. If it's a large project, it's going to take more of the day. But it's about 8 hours. And not all of that is, actually very small of that is, a small portion of that is actually recording and editing. Most of that is actually responding to clients and, going to websites and platforms and, messaging people.
Yeah.
So, but if you're planning on this being an actual day job, it has to actually be treated like a day job.
I figured as much.
Okay, let's answer a question from here. Is it the pitch of his voice that makes you ask? That is funny. Cool. Joe Cooper. Cool. What was the next question?
Oh, from me or from?
Oh, yeah, from you. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't clear. I was just reading some of their stuff.
Okay. All right. So, what is your crowning achievement so far since you've been in the voice industry?
Ooh, that is good. Crowning achievement.
And a follow-up question while you're thinking about that.
Okay.
What is your ultimate goal or destination as far as what would really make you feel complete?
I like the complete part. That's good. Okay, so first one, crowning achievement. I have a couple gigs that I've done that I really, really like and I'm really proud of. One of them was actually doing basically the voice of Deadpool for a commercial for Deadpool versus the World, which is kind of like a Cards Against Humanity style Deadpool game. So they did a commercial that was only on Facebook, and I did the voice of Deadpool for that.
Oh, that is awesome.
And I actually had to sign an NDA with Marvel, which, was kind of a big deal. I didn't think that it was that big of a project at first, but then they eventually, sent me the budget and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, holy crap. So that was fun. That was, a lot of fun. I think I did the most takes doing that one I think I've ever done, because I really wanted them to have the right take, and so it was hard for me to I didn't want to do an impression of any of the Deadpools, so I kind of did my own version that still had the Deadpool the Deadpoolness to it, but I still wanted to do something that was like me. It was like, if I'm actually getting to do Deadpool, I want to actually do an original voice, more or less.
Right.
So that was fun. They haven't come back to me. I think they came back to me one time. They needed a revision, but it's not like a return client. But that's been one of the projects that I really, really enjoy. Another one has been a lot of the stuff with Cartoon Hooligans. A lot of the voices that I've gotten to do for Cartoon Hooligans, because I don't normally get to be cast as Superman or Batman or Spider-Man, none of the heroes. I'm normally cast as the villain or the goofy sidekick. But it was a lot of fun to, even though not that many people have seen it. I mean, I think they're up to 2 million subscribers now, I think. And the videos that seem to be loved the most are the ones that I'm in. So a lot of people have gotten to see me do that, and it has been, I really got to stretch out doing the hero voice. I really got to practice being the hero, and a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people actually came to me later on after having seen these projects, because they do all these videos, because they do put me in the video description. So people do know that I'm the guy who did that voice. And so I have gotten work through Cartoon Hooligans.
Oh, that's cool.
People have known me. There was a client from, I think, Singapore, that referred to me as YouTube's #2 Goku. Which I didn't know that there was I didn't know that people were keeping score. I didn't know there was a thing. He was like, oh yeah, there's Team 4-Star, and then there's you. He's like, there's not really any other Goku. And I was like, okay, cool. So I hadn't really thought of that. There's been other things that I would say are achievements or things that I've done that I'm proud of. But to go on to the next question, the follow-up question, I would say my ultimate goal is to have an actual voiceover studio like Funimation, where I actually get to work with other voice actors in the studio. I actually get to work with people, multiple voice actors together. There are tons of, voiceover studios, animation voiceover studios and dubbing studios in Texas. But when people think voiceover studio or people think dubbing studio, they normally think New York or LA. So I want to kind of build up, the middle of the United States as also another place that people could go for that kind of service.
I think that'd be awesome.
I've also, when I was a kid, one of my goals was to get into animation, cartoon, and video game, but I never really, art's not really my thing. It's not, and animation's not my thing. It's going to be a long time before I'd ever really get there. Mm-hmm. So hopefully at some point, build a studio and work with artists on a regular basis to actually produce content, kind of similar to College Humor or Cartoon Hooligans. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my goals. It's probably, I would put it at my 10-year goal. It's probably reachable in 10 years, maybe less. But I don't want to put it in my 5-year goal, because then it would just be too stressful.
Right.
But it's probably my 10-year. I'd say 10 years I could probably achieve something on that level. An actual studio where I can actually have multiple voice actors in and have a brand and people know about it, and, work with clients. I've actually had a couple And the reason I started thinking about this as a possibility is I actually had a couple overseas Indian animation studios come to me because I actually wanted. They thought that I actually was a dubbing studio. I don't know what happened for them to think that, but they went to my website, my actual professional voiceover website, and they thought it was an actual dubbing studio. And so I actually got sent a contract that I wasn't able to sign that was for the Star Wars Lego animated series.
Oh, that's outstanding.
It was a while back, and they wanted a studio to do the dubbing and actually bring all the actors into one place and direct them. And they loved my stuff, and they thought that's what I did. And it was a SAG contract. It was a Screen Actors Guild contract. And I regretfully, like, I told them, like, I'm sorry, but I literally can't do this. I'm not Screen Actors Guild. I would be more than happy to be one of the voice actors, but I don't have that kind of studio. And they actually, they were like, oh, thank you. We thought that's what you did. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for not, wasting our time. And, they said, if we, are looking for any other voice actors in the area, we'll give you a call. They never did, but it was, a nice gesture. So after that point, and I think it happened again at some other point. I don't remember what the project was, but someone else came to me for the same thing, and I was like, I really need to do this. If this is what people are looking for, and I'm giving off some kind of vibe like that, I clearly need to, capitalize on that.
Indeed. Actually, also linked into one of my other questions about if you would ever consider going into business with other voice actors. So, got my answer.
Yeah, I actually there's a couple projects that I'm working on that actually work with other voice actors. One of them is Mr. and Mrs. Stormtrooper, which is written. All of it's written by me. I play one of the main characters, but also do a whole bunch of side characters, and I get to. So the first episode was really just me and one other voice actor. It was the first time I'd ever really directed and worked with another voice actor. And I did all the Foley work and most of the editing and all that on my end, and then I outsourced to an animation studio. And people liked it, and so we're trying to do another one, but the next episode has like 8 characters, and so trying to communicate with that many different people across the United States is fun but challenging.
Imagine.
So there's been a couple of them I've gotten to Skype in person. Other ones I had to message because our time zones are and our hours are just too confusing. But yeah, I like working with other actors. I've directed other actors in other projects. I've done short films and directed people. But yeah, that is one of my goals.
Sweet. A worthy goal, indeed. Okay, so the next question is, are there, this is just kind of a odd question, are there any people out there that you've done business with who have never heard your real voice?
Yes, College Humor. They've never heard my real voice. They're familiar of my YouTube channel, but I don't know that they've heard my real voice. We've only communicated ever with text and email, so I don't believe they've heard my real voice. I mean, I have no way of proving that they've heard my real voice. There is another client that comes to me on a regular basis that always asks for multiple characters. I can't remember who they are, but I think they're like a okay, they're a casting director for this one producer or director who does a whole bunch of straight to DVD films. Who they're always looking for little character voices to just fit here and there for animated stuff for kids. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've done 35 characters for them, maybe more. But wow. Yeah, they've never heard my real voice. I don't think we've ever talked. I think we've barely even talked through text. I think most of it's just been they send me the script. This is what we're looking for. All right, cool. All right, here's the payment. Cool. All right, bye. I wish that I had a little bit more of a personal connection with them because I'd like to know more about what it is they're actually wanting and if we had more of a contract or a deal, that'd be awesome. But I mean, if they're coming back to me, that's awesome.
Oh, so you've actually gone into do projects where they will ask you for something and you really don't have any clue like what the context is, or
this client in particular is actually kind of notorious for that. I love them. I mean, the casting director can only send me what he's given, so I have no communication with the director or producer, whoever it is who's writing this. So when they come to me, they're given a script that only has the lines for that character and not really any scene actions or descriptions. So I'm basically just doing a voice, that I have no real context for. And a lot of times they don't even tell me like like any information about the character. It's normally like, hey, can you give him like a Southern accent? What kind of Southern accent? So there are tons of times when I get projects like that I it would help me if I had more information. I could do a better job, but it's not going to stop me from doing the best that I can.
Right.
So there's tons of times when I don't get, enough information. There's sometimes that I don't need that much information. There are some times that I don't need the full details, the full rundown of the character. Sometimes, just having the line and like a vague description is fine. But when it's like there's a lot of lines, sometimes, I'm like, I really would like more information.
Yeah.
So be ready for stuff like that.
I just wonder about it because, that kind of goes in line, I would think, with your ultimate goal. Because, I mean, if they don't have that, because, I mean, I've been listening to some of the links you sent me. The one I like in particular is James Arnold Taylor.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, I love James Arnold Taylor.
And he talks about all the time how he does talk even like at his level where he's doing like major TV and movies and stuff, that it's not very personal.
Right.
So, if there was something out there, I mean, there apparently there is a need for it. I mean, he talks about it quite a bit.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies and clients where this is just a job, where they're just needing a service. Like if you brought a plumber over and you just need a toilet fixed, they're not going to strike up a conversation with the plumber. They're like, the toilet's that way, fix it, it's leaking or whatever. And they go and they fix it, and they're like, all right, bye, and that's it.
Yeah.
Me, whenever I have like an electrician or someone come over to my place to fix something, I'm standing there with them, I'm explaining stuff, I'm having a conversation. Sometimes, we laugh back and forth. I personally like, if someone's going to be in my house, and then working on stuff that I need them to work on, I like to have a little bit more of a connection with. But that's also because I'm an actor and a voice actor, and a working collar person.
And a human.
Another human. A lot of times when it's like a producer, the producer's job is just to make money. Their job is to get money from the studio, but essentially their bank, get money from the bank, and then just write checks to the people that need to be written checks to. Yeah. It's basically a producer's job. So they don't build a connection with anybody. Normally, if you're doing voiceover and you get to work with a director, the director will sometimes want to know who you are and get more of your personality. The producer often won't care. They just want, this is what we want, that's it, provide it, here's the money, bye. That's basically it.
I see. Okay, well, my next question, it's like I'm making these mental notes, avoid producer, or...
Well, you can't avoid producers.
Yeah, I know, I'm just...
Unfortunately.
Who do you go to for critiques and advice?
I go to friends who work in the same field. Sometimes I'll go to someone who's, far beyond my career status. And then other times I will go to people who are technically still beginning, as long as they're like, I know that they can give an honest opinion. I don't think it's good to get criticism from people that know you too well.
Mm-hmm.
like friends and family. They're really close friends and family. Like I'll every now and then I'll send stuff to my parents or my brother. I think my older brother, is pretty good at giving constructive criticism, but the problem with that is he's not really familiar with the field that I work in. So sometimes, his help or advice doesn't really cope with the industry. But every now and then it is nice to get his feedback. My mother will always say everything is great, so she's worthless in that field. My father will give criticism, really harsh criticism, with no sugarcoating, but he has the same problem. Like, he doesn't truly understand the field or industry, so it's not as helpful as I'd want it to be. So a lot of times I'll go to fellow voice actors that I have on Facebook that, I've talked to a couple times. I'll send them stuff, like if it's like my new demos, or I'll ask them questions about the industry, questions that I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ask them. I have a couple friends that are do acting and directing and producing that I'll often send scripts to, like stuff that I'm working on. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, I think there was a friend who I can't remember his name, but I sent him all the scripts for Mr. and Mrs. Stormtrooper, like all 13 of them at the time, and he gave basically a critique, a paragraph of each one, which is very, very helpful. So keep an eye out for people like that are, not the kind of people that aren't going to be jealous of you, the kind of people that aren't going to be aggressive or hateful in any way, the kind of people that are going to give you genuine, honest feedback. People that you're kind of friendly with, people that you know first name and last name, but that aren't people that you grew up with.
Yeah.
If that helps, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And a follow-up question with that would be, now if you don't know people, see that's the one thing I actually, when I wrote you, I actually didn't have anyone that I knew that was in this field that had any interest in it. They just, so I mean, where would people go if they don't have, people who aren't in the industry, or can they just get online and find people who will help them? I mean, you've helped out significantly, but
thank you. I'm glad that I have. In voiceover, it's actually rare now that you would find a voice actor who wouldn't be willing to give you some kind of helpful, friendly feedback. The voiceover community is actually, unless it's big industry professionals who've, been doing this for 100 years, who don't have the time to answer your question. Most of the time, people are going to be friendly and genuine. I mean, a lot of voice actors are lonely because we're in the studio alone for 8 hours. So we're like, oh, human interaction. Yes, I will answer any question. I will listen to your demos, please. So a lot of times, we're always very helpful, very friendly. Most of the voiceover, I think I've only run into maybe 3 douchebags in the voiceover industry. Personally, there was a couple times when I had a serious question and was trying to pick some people's brains. I think it was a Facebook voiceover forum, and I asked a very general question, and there was some real heat on it. There was some people that really didn't like the question. They didn't like the fact that it was being brought up, and I apologized. Actually, after that, I think it was I can't remember his name. I have to look it up. But there was an actual industry professional who, saw the question, emailed, sent me his email, and then we talked through email. He was like, ignore those people. What's your question? Let me help you. And so every now and then, you'll get stuff like that. But, if it's on social media, most of the people that are going to be the most anal about stuff are going to be the people that are probably struggling and stressing out. They're going to be the people that they themselves don't have the answer to the questions. They're going to, it's kind of the bully tactic. They're making themselves seem bigger than they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So there is going to be that, but if it's an actual professional, like you know of their work, it's the same thing with coaches. When you go and find a coach, you need to find someone that you're familiar with their work, familiar with what they've done. Like you've heard their demo, or you've seen the stuff they've done, and it looks like they're enjoying life doing voiceover. Same thing with asking voiceover questions. Find someone that you know is actually doing that for a living, and it looks like they're enjoying what they do. Often, those kinds of voice actors are the ones who have YouTube channels. You can go to them and ask them questions because they're already sharing information. They're already willing to share their information. They don't feel like they're, giving away stuff that's going to ruin their career.
Right.
So, yeah, that's why, Mike Delgadio, Bill DeWeese, Earl Hall, these are great sources of questions.
Okay.
Oh, here's a weird comment. Okay. When was your best sex? First of all,
everything to do with.
that was probably the weirdest worded question I've ever read. But in action, due to the fact that I said ask me anything, so I am going to answer this in full honesty. Still a virgin. Never had sex. 30 years old. Still not. So never. So never to answer to that question. And that's not a sad answer to that question. It's just me being honest. Tried dating many years. I just kept getting dumped or rejected or depression, and so I ended up going, all right, I'm just going to work on me. I'm going to focus on my career, and I'm going to get that to a point where it's stress-free, and then when I figured out this weird package of oddness, then maybe get back out into dating. So that's the answer to that question. Whoever asked it. I mean, there's no question mark. I don't even know if it's an actual question. There's no question mark. There's no capitalization. There's no punctuation at all. All right. Did you have any more questions?
I had 4 more.
4 more. Keep going.
All right. What should one avoid when talking to clients?
You should avoid giving your quote until you have all the information. Okay. You should avoid putting your quote out there unless they have given you, they have to give you all the information. And the information would be how big the project is, meaning like how many words or, how many how much recorded time they're wanting, depending on how you charge. I charge by the word, so I would ask how many words they're wanting to be recorded. Are they wanting multiple takes? How many characters? And then things like, what kind of project is this? And where is this being shared or viewed or posted? So let's say it's a video game character. Well, what kind of video game? Is this going to console? Is this going to be sold on disc? Or is it just going to be like a mobile app game, a free mobile app game? Because those prices would change. If it's a free mobile app game and it's a very small character, it's going to be different than if it was like on a console. If it's going to be like it's a big EA project, it's going to be very, very different. So get all the information. Also know when their deadline is. Make sure that you can actually accomplish that before saying yes. Because if you know that you're going to be, out of town for a day and they need it tonight and they need it like real fast and you're like, I'm not going to be in town, don't say yes. So you got to get the information before saying yes and before sending a quote, 100%. Otherwise, you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to make them unhappy, and then unhappy clients, they're just going to talk to each other, and it's just going to get spread around that you can't do it. So always get all the information. Okay.
All right. That's actually a big fault of mine.
It's a common mistake for a lot of people that are getting into voiceover is sending their quote too soon, and it backs them into a corner. And a lot of the cheapskate or the penny pinching clients want you to do that, and so they often will try to like instigate it or encourage it. It's like, hey, I just need a quote. Just give me a quote. What would you do for this? And you're like, this much, and they're like, oh, sweet. Like that's way less than the other guy would have done it for. So, it doesn't matter how how rapid paced they are, how desperate they are. What's all the information? Take a breath, answer these questions, and then I'll send you a quote.
Yeah.
I did that with a couple clients, and just from their initial text, it seemed like it was going to be this much. When I got all the information, I'm like, oh, that would have been 3 times it. So always ask.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess this is an extra question that just kind of popped into my head as you were talking about this. Are there any parts that people offer you where it's just because you want to be part of it so badly that you're almost willing to do it for a very small fee or free?
Yeah, there are a couple of those projects. The Deadpool one, I kind of cut my rate a little bit. I kind of cut what I normally would have charged down, and the reason is because they offered this much, and I was like, I'll do it for this, because they were still looking. They were still searching for people.
Right.
And I knew that they were still on the hunt, so I wanted to make sure that I got it. And the reason is because it would have been amazing for the demo and resume.
Yeah.
And so by having a clip or a character that's great for the demo and resume, it's going to eventually bring in more clients.
Yeah.
So by cutting a little bit off to make sure that I get it, not by a lot, I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't have done that one for free at all. But by cutting a little bit off to ensure nailing or getting the role, I am basically guaranteeing more work down the line, which is going to be more money down the line. So it's cutting a little bit off is kind of an investment for the future. There have been, every now and then, there'll be like return clients that I really enjoy working with that, they'll send me a thing like, and this will be like after I've already upped my rate, and they'll send me a project, and I will be like, hey, I would love to do this. Someone else is messaging me. I'll contact him in a second. And there'll be tons of times when they'll send me a project, and I know I've gone up on the rate, and maybe they weren't aware, and I'll do it for the old rate this time. Just letting you know. Just want to make sure that I keep that client because I do have a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
Every now and then, someone will come to me and like through Facebook, and they'll be like, "Hey, I saw your stuff on YouTube. Can you do this for me?" And it depends on how short it is. Sometimes if it's like, I think there was like a DJ who wanted me to do just like say his name or something like that, and they were going to be like adding it to like a demo or a remix, and I did that for really, really cheap because it didn't take much time out of me. I was already in the studio. I was about to call it a night, and he just messaged me. I was like, yeah, sure, blah, 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 send, and he was happy. So every now and then I do make exceptions, but don't make making the exception the standard.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing is, like, people say Star Wars for me, and it's just, man, I'll do it.
Doing Star Wars?
Yeah, I really love it, but I understand it. It's like, that's, if you want to do this for a living, you can't just do everything for free. I mean, it's not that kind of world, but all right. And speaking of recordings, so in one of your videos, I know that you mentioned sending it in I think it's a WMA format. Yeah, it was just one of your videos. I don't expect you to remember it, but like, is there really that much of a difference between WAV files, WMAs, and MP3s? Because, I mean,
yeah, well, to the ear, there's not that much of a difference. So, if you were to listen to a 44.1, 16-bit MP3 versus a WAV 48, 24-bit, there's not going to be that much difference to the ear. Mm-hmm. What it comes down to is the client. So MP3 is kind of compressed. It's kind of a slightly compressed version that still sounds good. And that's normally good for doing auditions. There are some clients that are totally fine with MP3s because it's Totally fits what they need to work with. But MP3 can't go higher than a certain kilohertz rate. So if a client wants like a large format that they can edit and change and do a lot of tweaking to, they're going to want, like 96 kilohertz at 32-bit wave, because that gives them basically an uncompressed, large, high-resolution audio that they can easily do things like pitch changes or add effects, and it's not going to distort. The smaller the file, the more compressed. If you were to do a pitch change, you may get some error, some kind of distortion. So the larger the file, the less likely you're going to get errors. So it really just kind of comes down to what is the client wanting. Normally, I send it in MP3 because most of the clients, that's just standard. But I list that. I list that that's the standard that I'll send it in. If they need anything else, if they need any other format, to let me know. I think there's a couple other formats that some clients in like bigger studios want, and they're like the kind of formats that easily transfer into certain programs. But that comes down to like an engineering thing, so they're very rare, very rare. But if anyone asks for a specific format that you don't know anything about, basically just do a Google search, and you can probably find some kind of converter or something, find out what program works best with that. But normally it's going to be WAV or MP3.
Okay. I mean, I kind of knew a little bit about that, but that helped clear a lot of things up. Makes sense.
As far as the why.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, 2 more questions, and then I just have a comment I would like to make after that, if that's
Cool.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine. After the 2 questions, I just immediately in.
Like, goodbye.
It's like, all right, bye. No.
All right, so let me know if this question doesn't make sense. How do you handle the eternal critics? Like, I don't know if you have particular guys who have
self-criticism?
like, yeah, or the guys who just always come in and they just tell you how to do your job or work, even though you have no idea who they are.
Oh, okay. If it's people that are approaching you to give you criticism that you haven't asked for, normally ignore those. Most of those are also, again, from people that are either struggling and are unhappy or don't actually know what they're talking about. I would say still read the comments, but don't take them as actual, I guess I need to do this. For every, harsh criticism, there's at least a little bit of useful information.
Right.
Greetings, puppet show. Naughty puppet show. Ooh. That leaves a lot of questions. As far as self-criticism, you can't get away from it. Every voice actor, every actor, every comedian, everyone who does anything involving arts, actually, even cooks and mechanics, everyone has self-criticism. Just a little voice telling you you did something wrong, or you'll never be good at this and stuff like that. Yeah. Those are fine to have. The problem is thinking that that's all there is, thinking that that's the only voice in there that you should listen to. Basically, so I used to really, really think that I was terrible at basically everything. There's still a lot of stuff that I think, I need serious work on, but I used to think that I was dreadful at most things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem that we have is seeing it from other people's point of view instead of just our point of view. Instead of just, what is it? There's like heliocentric or something like that. I don't remember what it is, what the phrase is, but where basically you're the only one in your world and you're the only one in your bubble. See it from other people's points of view. Try to think of it from an outside perspective. No one's as bad as they normally think they are. Like, for example, my old demos. I know my old demos are trash. and they're terrible. But there were some people that liked them. There were some people that I did actually get some work based off those demos that I myself now would see as absolute garbage. So there's someone out there who did enjoy it. There's someone out there who listened to it and thought there was something worth it. There's going to be that for everything that you do. Even if, you think you're terrible, someone may still enjoy it. There's a lot of stand-up comedy that I do that I don't find funny anymore. I really think that they're terrible jokes. I am surprised when people laugh, but there's a lot of people that really like them. There's a lot of people that enjoy those bits, and so I keep them in. And if I had just seen it from my perspective, basically those jokes that other people enjoy, which is the whole point of this, it's the whole point of doing anything involving the arts is so other people can enjoy it, I would not be doing them because I personally hate them, and then people who do enjoy them wouldn't get to see them. So most of the time it's, if you're really feeling down about something that you have done or something that you aren't doing, I would say find those friends that are in the similar field and talk to them, ask them questions. It's moments when you're really, really down is when it is encouraged to go and talk to friends and family who know you really well. As far as like career choices, you'd probably want to go to someone who has a better perspective. But when it comes to just encouragement, just reinforcement, then go to friends and family. Because the question that you're asking isn't really about the industry. It's not really about voiceover. What you're really asking them is, am I good at this? Should I keep doing this? Am I doing the right thing? It's more personal. Then you go to more personal people.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Good. Let's see. I have 2 comments here. Doing voices inherent in my nature. Doing voices is inherent in my nature. Oh, okay, good. It's in my blood. Good. Good. I don't know what kind of voices we're talking about. Are we just talking impressions or doing character voices? As your skill in your craft increases, so will your... Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's good. It's a good comment. Good comment. Wasn't really a question. It was just a kind of like a restating. So, what's the next question?
All right. This is the last question. Knowing what you know now, do you ever wish you could have done things differently when first starting out? Or are there things you wish you would have known back then?
Yes. Everything. All the things. All the things. I don't think there's ever been one thing that I would want to do differently. The problem is that knowing that all the mistakes I made me what I am and taught me what I know is the whole reason I'm better. So going back and changing them, let's say it was like a time travel kind of thing, going back and changing them wouldn't give me the skill to know what was even wrong. So it's kind of like it has to happen. You have to make the mistakes. There have been tons of performances and tons of characters that I've done, tons of voices that I've done that are really, really subpar performances that are really bad that I really wish I could do differently. And a lot of those are some of the very first characters that I've ever done. But then at the same time, around that time, there were other voices and other characters and other roles that I did that were okay, that were fine, that I wouldn't really change. So maybe that one role wasn't really a reflection on my skill as a whole, but maybe it was just that one role. It could have been that maybe I just didn't have enough information. I don't remember the conversation that I had with the client. So maybe that was it. A lot of it would probably be, I'd say the thing that I would really, really change, if anything, would probably be how much I charged. There was a period when I charged $5 and it was basically as many words as people wanted, and it did nothing but stress me out. And I didn't learn anything other than to charge more. So I would say that of anything would be the thing that I really wish I could change, was charging more. And I think that's a thing that most people need to change and need to do and need to, improve on. Some people don't want to charge enough and they end up getting stressed, and then the stress makes them not enjoy the things that they do and all that kind of stuff. So I'd say probably price.
Okay. Well, I just have to say, to those of you who are listening, there's a lot of wisdom in what you said about, not changing your mistakes, because I also believe that's how you get better. But and to my final comments, like you did mention, I am doing the Luke Skywalker for Ivan Ortega's re-edit. Now with that, I didn't have anyone to ask how my voices were. Personally, like, when he put out his trailers, the first thing I did was I was just scrolling through the comments, seeing what people were saying.
Which is a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, it can get you suicidal at times, but
it's a minefield sometimes, but
and so, because I just had myself, and I was listening to a very small portion of what I had to work with, and I thought to myself, everything that they're saying, they're like, well, Luke's voice is too high or it's too young. And I'm like, that's not how I sound at all. I purposely changed that. Now, after going through all these different reaction videos and stuff, and hearing what people had to say, like my wife was there, and she's like, don't get discouraged.
Right.
We came across yours, and there was a very definitive difference, because out of everyone who was, having the reaction and stuff, everything that you said, I 100% agreed with. Like, I wasn't, after hearing it, I'm like, I wasn't super happy with how it turned out. And since then, I have sent him, different demos, but it was your reaction and your comments that kind of told me, I'm like, you know what, I can actually do this. I just need to do what this guy said, and to improve. And personally, I think I've improved. And it was actually really nice that, all these different YouTubers and people, I will tell everyone now that you do know what you're talking about when it comes to voices and microphones and all that stuff. Like,
oh, thank you.
You're not just, shooting crap out your mouth. I mean, it's actually the real thing. And I just want to say, like, you can actually learn a lot of stuff from your channel. Like I have. I mean, I'm going in. I actually want to change from what I'm doing now, IT, and I actually want to do the voice work full time now.
Good.
Now I have the tools to do it. So, yeah. So thanks, and that's pretty much all I have to say for that for now.
Good. I am glad that you found it very, very helpful. When I first started, like, just offering advice, it was just me trying to. I was alone in my studio, and I was like, I just want to talk about something, and so I started just talking about, my day. It was just doing voiceover, and then people started asking, and I started sharing, and I started learning from my mistakes and started sharing those, and more people have commented and been appreciative, and so I've kept doing it. That's not what the channel originally started out as, but I mean, I found that it's helped out a lot of people, and I'm glad. I'm glad it's helped out a lot of people. I'm glad that a lot of people have learned some stuff, because I have a lot of history of mistakes, and hopefully by sharing, fewer mistakes will be made by other people. That's the goal, and so good. I'm glad. I am glad. I'm very, very glad. So yeah, that's basically going to be it. This is actually a 2.5 hour live stream, which answered a lot of questions. And I'm hoping to do stuff like this more often and bring on more people, as often as I can. There was some problems, and I'll try to figure that out on my own later. Many apologies on that. I'm an audio guy. I'm not a video guy. I'm not a live stream guy. But yeah, thank you for being here and being here with us and asking me all the questions. They've been great questions that I'm sure, other people will probably want to know the answer to. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, no problem. It was a good time.
Good. And I'm glad we got to chat. So this is probably going to be it. So, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And we'll probably be doing this again later. If you want, to know when I'll be posting that like I did last time, leave any comments down below. Try to set this up. And, yeah, until next time, peace.
Farewell, world.